The National Senior Citizen Center, NSCC, says it is set to inaugurate the Grandmother Arise for Good initiative to enhance the well-being and livelihood of grandmothers across the country. Dr. Omokaro, the Director General of the National Senior Citizen Center, made this known in her address at the focus group discussion with older women in Abuja. The program, with the theme Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, was organized by the National Senior Citizen Center to mark the 2022 International Women's Day. The National Senior Citizen Center boss explained that the center is working with National Identity Management Commission to get ID cards for older persons, including grandmothers, so that they could get consensus and discounts in accessing services.
Grandmothers Arise for Good project is strategic NSCC flagship initiative, which is going to take a multi-sectoral approach and is aimed at harnessing distinct interests, traditional roles, or inventing new roles perhaps, and utilizing older women's industry and resilience to develop community work schemes to enhance older women's accelerated and expanded access to social assistance. For its robustness and intended positive outcomes, the focus group with older women becomes very needful. The focus group today will assist us to identify communities of older women and their multidimensional status that would inform factual decisions on the best policy action fits for effective transformation.
Speaking, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, in her goodwill message appreciated the efforts of Omokaro. Farouk, who was represented by Mr. Taiwo Bashorun, the Director of Social Development in the ministry, said that the NSCC Grandmothers Arise for Good initiative was in line with the President Muhammadu Buhari's Strategic Development Plan 2021 to 2025.
At the global, regional, national and subnational level, age equality speaks to equity, diversity and inclusion, which is the domesticated theme by NSCC for this occasion. I am sure that data will inform NSCC step towards the designing, planning, and the implementation of unique Grandmothers Arise for Good initiative.
Speaking, Mrs. Pauline Talen, the Minister of Women Affairs and a grandmother of 15 grandchildren, said grandmotherhood is a great experience, adding that it brings joy, laughter, and happiness to relate with grandchildren.
This maiden focus group dialogue with all the older women bring out very useful suggestions that will help make life better, happier for our elderly women. This month of March, as I earlier mentioned, is a special month to celebrate and acknowledge women in different spheres, and nobody should be left behind. The vulnerable among us, the elderly, the young, the old women, name it. It's a special month set aside by the United Nations all over the world to acknowledge the contribution of women in nation building. Therefore, the theme of this year's celebration is gender equality, the basis for a sustainable tomorrow. Let's break the bias. And this is the hashtag. Let's break the bias. We must work towards breaking the bias, and that's why what is happening in front of the National Assembly is part of it. We must sustain it. We must drive home our demands until we have a listening ear.
Similarly, Mr. Tony Chukwu, the Executive Secretary of National Human Rights Commission, said the NSCC's Grandmother Arise for Good initiative was a welcome development. Chukwu added that it brings to the front burner the issue of discrimination and marginalization of older women. It gives them a sense of value instead of seeing them as liability.
It is also important for me to reiterate here that abuse, neglect and violence in social, cultural and political spheres against elderly women and men constitute gross human rights violations of their rights of this vulnerable group of persons. There is need for continuous sensitization and awareness creation on elder abuse in Nigeria, as this seems to be alien to our culture as Africans.